Welcome to the new episode of Next Level Humans. And I have a lovely guest here, dear Fiona Miller. Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Nevsah, how are you?
Welcome. Great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us half an hour of your life.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you right now?
I'm near Boston.
Boston. Okay, great. Would you like to first start it by introducing yourself to our listeners? Most of our listeners are either founders, VCs, angel investors in our community.
Yes, so I am a managing partner at Quadrascope Venture. We're a venture fund investing in companies that develop treatments, a wide range of technologies to extend our healthy lives, to bring on, basically to treat and avoid diseases through human biological rejuvenation. And
Yeah,
so our investments include pharmaceuticals, diagnostic software equipment and devices. We have 13 companies in our portfolio.
yeah. So you are clearly on a mission, and you are actually on a mission to help humanity to stay well and healthy and also increase longevity. Which projects have you been in that you would call like revolutionary? Which projects are right now in your portfolio that are like really interesting?
So you're right, we have a focus and a mission. And we work with companies that treat the hallmarks of aging. Now, your audience may or may not know what those are,
Yeah,
uh, but
let's dive deeper. I do have some audiences as well interested in health, wellness, and pharmaceuticals, but let's dive into it. Your
yeah.
mission
So,
on a deeper
you know,
level.
as we age, we get diseases, and there are hundreds of diseases of aging. Heart disease,
Yeah,
Alzheimer's, we
yeah,
don't need to list them all. Uh, and in these diseases really are symptoms of damage that we accumulate in our bodies as we age. And so our current healthcare system treats these symptoms, and they can treat us for decades until we die. And they don't really cure older aging people. They don't cure us because they're not treating the root causes
yeah,
of this damage. They're just treating the symptoms. These are
exactly.
diseases, we've given them names, but there are 12 right now. There are 12 hallmarks of aging that scientists studying aging have defined. And these include, for example, some familiar ones may be chronic inflammation. Many of us understand as we age, and inflammation increases and stays high in our body. Some people are familiar with stem cell exhaustion, so some of us get stem cell treatments to help with repair. There's dysbiosis, which is a microbiome, and it turns out that also ages. There are senescent cells, cells that turn zombie, that don't divide anymore, which cause various diseases. So, but there are like a dozen of these things we call hallmark of aging. I mean, the scientists who are studying aging, this is a concerted field now with its own set of conferences and papers and uh, forums that have formed. And so when you have a dozen hallmarks and hundreds of diseases. So how does that work? So for example, there are a dozen diseases right now in clinical studies by companies that have venture capital that are running humans clinical studies that are all caused by senescent cells. So as we age, cells,
Yeah,
zombie cells, their
yeah,
concentration
exactly.
accumulates,
Yeah,
we get more and more of them.
yeah,
And some specific cells cause specific diseases. So one hallmark results in Right now, we know of 12 diseases in human
Yes.
trials, so there's something
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Inflammation, the more we study it, more and more diseases are attributable to it. Muscle loss and obesity
Yeah.
is one that's the most prominent
Yeah. Yeah.
today.
I have been personally very much interested in the cause of all diseases, and that's why I have gone on a self-mastery path for over 25 years, because I am right now, with all the research I've been doing, in one level certain that the main cause of these diseases are also like some thinking habits and also some mental structures, as well as some breathing habits that keep us either in respiratory alkalosis or respiratory acidosis. So those are the ones I was able to find, like even behind the scenes of inflammation or muscle loss or obesity. I think certain consciousness levels, which are like certain thinking habits, certain behavioral habits, are even like kind of like at the start of all of these. So what have you? I mean, I'm gonna come again to the most revolutionary idea and revolutionary company you have invested in. But even before that, what do you think about the real cause behind all of these, even like inflammation and obesity? Because certain thinking habits and certain, judgmental thinking and kind of like us staying at a more distorted perception level or a consciousness level, I believe there is a level of consciousness where we get sick, and there is a level of consciousness where we don't. If we can master our minds and master our emotions, I strongly believe that we can master our bodies by mastering our behaviors, what we, how we eat and how we exercise and how we think. These are probably most important things.
Well, what an interesting question. So we don't completely understand because there are root causes of root causes,
Yeah,
and we can
yeah,
be peeling
yeah,
that onion
yeah,
forever, right?
yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot there we
And
just
back
don't
and back and
understand.
back. Yeah,
And I am open-minded about all of that. I do think, I mean, we have evidence, scientific evidence, placebo effect is real.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we are curing diseases. There is scientific evidence papers show that even knee surgery, they even had placebo surgeries and people got better. All right. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
you're onto
sure.
something. Our mind is very powerful. Emotions are very powerful, and the longevity community, some of the key things we focus on is uh, our social lives, our happiness, level of stress, all of those things matter as
Yeah,
much as diet and exercise, right?
yeah, exactly. So what is the most interesting, or what are the most interesting companies you have ever invested in, like really got you excited and like brilliant idea, revolutionizing healthcare? Are there any companies
Yeah.
like that you could
Well, let me give you
maybe?
three examples. I'm going to
Hmm.
get to the one I'm most excited about as a last, all right?
Okay.
But the first one, I'm going to start with just this whole obesity field. These are blockbuster drugs. Novo
Mm-hmm.
Nordisk and Eli Lilly are at the lead. But you can look at these drugs and say, these are the first longevity drugs. Why? Uh, so what characterizes a longevity drug? We treat a root cause, and we can treat it as a preventative. We can treat it proactively before you get a disease. That's the whole idea, right? For longevity, because by the time you get a disease, a lot of damage is already done to your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to prevent it. So take Ozempic, uh, and the Wegovy. These are the same drug, basically, just two different names. So Ozempic went to market in 2017 to treat type 2 diabetes. So it treats a disease. So, today at the FDA, before they approve a drug, you need to demonstrate that it treats a disease. You can't just go and
Sure. Yeah.
file for a drug that's preventative.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but in I think it was 2020, I want to say 2020, they got it approved as Wegovy, or Ozempic or Wegovy, I forget which one is which, for obesity. Now that's a root cause. Like obesity is not a disease, right? But it got approved. And just this year, it got approved as a preventative or to treat serious cardiovascular conditions like heart disease and stroke, those kinds of conditions. And now it's in clinical studies for muscular degeneration and other types of diseases. So this is what it's all about. This is one drug
Yeah.
that's treating a root cause. So, but what happens, it's not perfect. People who take it, as well as Lilly's drug, they lose up to 30% of their muscle mass. Now, losing 30% of your muscle mass is not
It's
a good
huge.
longevity
It's
strategy,
not good, and
not good.
it's a huge amount.
So one company we have in our portfolio that's actually in human studies now is called Immunis. And their drug, it's an unusual drug, because usually a drug is one molecule. This drug is akin more to stem cells. It's 400 plus different molecules, which are secretions of immune system stem cells, if you will.
Okay.
But these are off the shelf, mass produced, right? So when you go for stem cell treatment, you have to procure them. They're either yours that have been expanded or allogenic from some younger person. But this is
From
off
the
the shelf.
family. Yeah.
They're, but these are not actual cells. So even today, we're not actually, we're tending to do exosomes. People get exosomes. So anything that's excreted by the stem cell, they're signaling molecules. Basically immune system signaling. So this drug, instead of one molecule as a typical drug, is 400 plus. These are the molecules that our immune system uses to fight inflammation. It's very effective at fighting inflammation. Downstream of that, you're fighting muscle loss. This drug is actually building muscle. So it's approved for muscle atrophy treatments following knee osteoarthritis. So specific thing to go through the FDA with, but you can imagine,
Yeah.
So when you do that injection, it builds muscle that's atrophied while the person is immobilized. But for longevity, we can treat it systemically. But it also, they discovered that it builds muscle, but it also drops fat, right? So it's more, it acts more like nature would, right?
Yeah.
In actually giving us a younger body composition. Okay.
Yeah.
Lose fat.
Not just losing calories and losing fat, but also giving us youth, kind of like, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so the results are so exciting that we have a big pharma company that came in and is helping Immunis define the obesity study. There is a network of longevity clinics that came in and provided non-dilutive funding just to run it in their clinics to make it available to their patient. So they're already got the study approved and they're going on. So this is, as you can imagine, a huge market. It can do
It
a
is
lot
very
of good.
exciting. It can do a
Very,
lot.
very
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, very exciting.
The next company I would give you an example, it's called Deciduous Therapeutics. It focuses on senescent cells. So again, they're starting with the immune system. So immune system keeps coming up. It's a system that nature uses to keep us healthy, right? And they are going after also type 2 diabetes and pulmonary fibrosis. These are the FDA indications they need to get to market. But they're using the immune system to destroy specific kinds of senescent cells. Senescent cells are zombie cells, ones that died and accumulate and they become toxic, basically. And so there are different types of senescent cells. There are studies now. The National Institute of Aging is now trying to create an atlas of these senescent cells
Mm-hmm.
to describe which ones do what. Some of them are
Yeah.
beneficial. We're still learning, but deciduous knows the specific ones that causes two diseases, pulmonary fibrosis and type 2 diabetes, and it knows how to create a vaccine so that the immune
Mm.
system
For
would
the
go
body.
and kill them, just like,
Interesting.
again, like nature would,
Okay,
right?
interesting.
And so that's another one kind of going back to the immune system. But, in the hallmarks, we're missing something very important. So here I'm getting to the third company.
Yeah. It's getting exciting.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
one thing we're missing is extracellular matrix. That's collagen and elastin. The
Mm-hmm.
most visible, thing we see as we age is our wrinkles, but that's just the visible part. I mean, collagen and elastin forms our blood vessels and our heart and all the organs, lungs. When we inhale, and we exhale, it's the elasticity of the tissue that
Yeah.
actually
Yeah. The
gets
elasticity
air.
of the air
Yeah,
sags. Yeah.
exactly. And as
And when
we
you lose
age,
that elasticity, many
you lose
problems
that
occur,
elasticity.
including
How do you
COA.
lose it?
Yeah.
One mechanism is AGEs, advanced glycation end products. Many of us who are trying to stay healthy know about them. They're sticky little molecules that just stick to the collagen and elastin fibers and make them stiffer, make the tissue stiffer. They're also disintegrating with age. There are pictures you can see, it's pretty graphic, right?
Yeah.
Young
Yeah.
versus old. And yeah, so we get atherosclerosis, we get stiff, we get high blood pressure and all kinds of problems. And today there is no way, there's no cure. Nobody knows how to clean that up, how to restore extracellular matrix. We talked to one company that actually is working to clear these AGEs from the lens of the eye to return the flexibility, a way for us to focus near and far, so to fight presbyopia. So even just a simple thing, if we figure that out, that would be very cool. So the company that I want to mention is called BioChange, and they have created a biomaterial that's
I'm taking
essentially,
notes, by the way.
what's that?
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, so they created biomaterial that's embryonic extracellular matrix. Now, embryonic is very important. In the embryonic state, the cells know that they have to build tissue. This is when the embryo develops into a fetus and so forth. This is the phase of growth, and we lose that state at a certain stage of the embryo development. And we just don't do as well in regenerating organs, and but in that state you can regenerate tissue. And so they actually just went to market. So it's biomaterial that you can inject. When you inject it into some tissue, it cells just go on it. You have stem cells everywhere in your tissue, right? They go on it and they know they can communicate. There's some vibration that goes on, and they know they have to build tissue because that's the embryonic signal to them. And so they just went to market in veterinary market in dogs. So you know how as we age, we get receding gums,
Yeah.
bone actually disintegrates, gums follow the bone, and then the teeth fall out because nothing's holding them.
Yeah.
So they are treating that condition in dogs, and they have like a dozen dogs that already the bone, you can see the bone has restored itself. So just injecting, that's like a miracle. It just
Wow.
doesn't happen
It
today,
is. It is.
right? But
Wow.
after 4 months, you can see that it filled in and fixed the
Wow.
bone and the
4
gums
months is quick.
very
But
quick.
when you think of the body, how it like, yeah, how it
Yeah, it's like it's
regenerates
the
and
next step, right? I mean, they're
amazing.
going to fix our faces and
Yeah,
in
it
the
looks like if we can
continent.
wait long enough, we're going to just stay at the age we are in.
Oh, it'll happen.
Hang on.
They're
Yeah,
now talking, they got attention of billionaires, and they're gonna get,
yeah,
they have a good roadmap
yeah, yeah,
to get there. You can treat incontinence, starting in dogs. You know, a veterinary market's a good place to start. It's far less regulated,
yeah.
easy to start learning about, cure. So that's the one
Brilliant.
I'm super excited about,
Yeah,
because
it is
I can
super
see it.
exciting.
Yeah.
It is super exciting. I mean, that's probably the hardest, that would probably be one of the hardest things to achieve in human biology.
Yeah,
Overall,
what's
it's
going
like,
to happen?
yeah,
Yeah, there are some things that are harder than others, but we're
yeah,
going to start, we're funding companies. Each company knows its own thing that it knows
yeah,
how to fix. It's
yeah,
focusing, studying,
yeah,
and once they fix that, it'll help all the other hallmarks of aging, because that's how human body works. Everything
yeah,
interacts. So let's say you take mitochondria, that's the power source of our cells. If you fix that, all the other hallmarks get better, get
yeah,
younger, right? And so each company will fix its own piece of the puzzle, and
yeah, and
things will
help humans
come together.
thrive.
Yeah.
Age more gracefully, I call it.
Yeah, yeah. But I think you need that mental
Yeah,
attitude, you need the stress, everything that can work against. I mean, this is just chemicals, right? Body is
yeah, yeah,
just cells, but it all somehow has to come together and work and interact. And
yeah,
this is where
exactly.
you are a living person with something guiding all of that,
Yeah,
right? And that's
exactly.
where what you're doing, in a way, will
Yeah,
connect a lot of the dots.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because most of our, we're an accelerator program as NevCap, we're more focused on founders than businesses. We say to our founders, we invest in founders, and we are here to support founders because we're backed by a self mastery school, and we believe that founders who can master their minds and their emotions and who can govern their behaviors, who take good care of themselves, and who are, in a way, not to mean, not having the ability to collaborate with co-founders, but being self-reliant and self-resilient, so that they can be in charge, is very important. So we try to back founders to accelerate their self-mastery process so that they can accelerate their businesses. So that's why most of our listeners are also founders who are on a self-mastery path, who are ambitious, and who wants to build more self-confidence in getting the funding, also building their companies, building their profiles, growth and everything. With all your experience and expertise, what would you suggest the founders to focus on while they're developing personal skills and personal qualifications? Because as you know, probably all investors are aware of the same thing, that the success of the company depends a lot on how much self-reliant is the founder. It's like you can have the best idea, but as a founder, if you can't stay strong and self-resilient, and if you're not strong mentally and emotionally and physically, all of it, it's a huge responsibility. It's like, it will not work. So what would be your suggestion to founders who are listening to us?
Yeah, so I will reinforce what you just said. I have started and exited 3 companies myself, and it's hard. Every
Yeah,
startup company is going to face, it's not a question of if, it's going to be when. There's going to be some adversity that's going to happen. Some competitor came in and basically is invalidating the direction you take. You got to
yeah,
react to that. Uh, some patent got patented, and all of a sudden you're locked out. COVID happens, okay, and does creates a big mess. So something's gonna happen, right? And then the question is, who's gonna live through it and who's gonna die?
yeah,
And it comes down to resilience, creative thinking, being prepared. Being prepared for these things is very, very important. All right. and
So
just
having the ability to think about the worst thing that can happen
yeah,
and
what's
also
going to
prepare
happen
for it,
if
like,
all of a sudden you have to change course? What's your plan B and C? Uh, did
thinking
you
about problems or what can go wrong before they even happen or exist.
exactly, yeah, and then being prepared and having enough cash on hand, being disciplined with that.
Yeah,
Obviously, early stage companies are vulnerable and risky because they don't have enough cash. But as you get mature, you have no excuse. You got to run your business in a way that's profitable, and you can put money away because something is going to happen,
yeah,
and you want to survive through that.
yeah, exactly. And how much money do you think the startups should have? Like 6 months, 8 months?
If you read Bill Gates, who was
Yeah,
obsessive
yeah.
compulsive, he wanted to
A
have
year.
a year.
Yeah,
That's a lot to ask an
that's a
early
lot. Yeah,
company, but that's a good amount of cash to have, because if you're in a competitive business, or even if it's wellness business, right, which there are other companies that are going to come in and be cutthroat, and there could
yeah,
be a disease or something. You don't know what it's going to happen, but
yeah. And it's not
something's going
even.
to happen.
Yeah, and it's not even about. I think it's not even about whether the company needs the money, needs the cash or not. It's also about managing your emotional state, because once we panic, because I have been a founder since I was 22 years old. I built my first business when I was 22, and I was leading a team of 85 people when I was 25. Like, I was early on the path being a founder. Again, me too, built some businesses, exited, kept on building businesses. I have kept my educational business for over 25 years, which is a classic business model, but have been growing. So it's like, I think having the cash, it's kind of like a buffer to your emotional state as well. Because for us as founders to decide wisely, we have to be emotionally balanced. And I see a lot of founders, just because they are panicking, they're they're just, deciding, they're not deciding wisely enough. So it's like, yes, the company needs it. I think it's a great, yeah, suggestion, the cash, but also us founders also need to know that we have cash so that we can decide wisely in times of stress and in a crisis situation.
Yes, for sure. No, emotional state, clarity
Yeah,
of thought, stay
yeah,
with it. Yeah.
yeah,
Have a
yeah.
team that's going to support you.
Stable, yeah,
It's
and
not
having,
just one
yeah,
person, it's also about a
yeah,
team.
yeah. It's also about a team. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. This is a the these this topic has been a very interesting topic for me personally for many years as well. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and
Totally. Thank you for
um,
having me.
yeah, and I'm certain
Great.
our founders and investors also enjoyed the conversation. So one last thing, because you have been a founder and you're now an investor, when you look back, especially to your early years when you were a founder, with the wisdom and experience you have now, what would you tell your younger self, or the self who was a founder? Just if there was one thing you could tell her, what would that be?
It's an interesting one. Well, I would just say, I think to your point, keep it together, enjoy it, enjoy the
Mm,
process. There are going to be ups and downs, and be prepared, stay focused, stay calm.
yeah.
These are the
And
things.
with that, do you think when we are younger, in especially because I have a lot of young between the age of 20 to 30 founders I mentor and support. And I usually see it in them. And then I remember my younger years. Do you think we take business and entrepreneurship too seriously when we are younger? And then as we age, we're like, this is just a playground, we're just playing and having fun. And What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it helps if you can just allow yourself to fail. Say there may be things
Yeah,
out of my control,
yeah,
and I'm going to do the best, but I'm prepared emotionally to
yeah.
fail and
Embrace,
start again. That
yeah,
probably
embrace failing. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Fiona.
great
I
to
really
be here.
enjoyed
Thank
it.
you,
Yeah,
Nevsah.
thank you. Thanks to our listeners. I am certain that you learned as much as I did and you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And I'll see you in the next episode.